Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. So I'm going to start by asking you some questions. So could you start by introducing yourself, telling us a bit about your background and what inspired you to become a writer?
Sure. My name is Michael Northrop. I am an author. I have written 16 books now.
Wow.
Um, and the first 12 were novels for YA novels, young adult
Mhm.
and middle grade novels. And then the last four have been graphic novels for
Um,
DC Comics.
well,
So
yeah.
very different processes, but I was sort of a reluctant reader growing up, but it's something that I really sort of gravitated to over time. And I studied literature and things like that in school. And when I got out of school, I got jobs in journalism, and so
Mhm.
I was sort of working on other people's stories or writing short stories. And then over time, the stories got longer and longer, and then I realized I was, ready to write my own stories and ready to write
Yeah.
books. So that's really how that happened. And over the course of 16 books, I've gotten to explore a lot of different things that interest me.
Mm-hmm. So why did you choose DC Comics as well, like the bookstore to like the right bookstore?
Well, I mean, so they are, yeah, I mean, I started out writing for Scholastic, was my publisher, and um, they actually DC Comics at the time they were starting a new sort of imprint for books for younger readers, and of course, they had a lot of experience, decades and decades of experience with comic books, but they did not have much experience writing books for younger readers. So they reached out to different people who had a little bit more experience writing for younger audiences. And I was very lucky that I was one of those people. So they really contacted me. I think originally they contacted my agent and asked if she knew, someone who might be good for this. And she knew I was a big comic book fan. And so that's how that happened. So it was really just a question of like good timing. They liked my books that I'd written, the novels I'd written for Scholastic, and they were looking for some people to write books for them. And so that's how that worked. And I was very happy to come up with some ideas and see if it worked because, again, I've read comics, really almost my whole life. So I was very excited about the chance.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad that worked out.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what inspired you to write Young Alfred Payne the Butler?
So, Alfred, it was my fourth book with DC. So, you know, I felt like I had an opportunity to go a little bit outside the big, best known characters. My
Mm-hmm.
first book with DC was Dear Justice League, and that's,
Yeah.
the Justice League. So, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, all the big names, the big star superheroes.
Ash
Um, so
is
Flash, of
the
course, yes. And so that's the first thing I thought to write for them. But after, three earlier books, I thought, I can explore some characters that maybe other people aren't writing about or haven't had much written about them at all, And
yeah.
Alfred was a character who everyone knows. They know who he is, Batman's butler, but he's always kind of in the background. So I thought it was an opportunity for me to tell a story that other people, not many other people have really explored.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, just a chance to do something sort of new and fun with a character I've always really, really liked.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I feel like when I first read your book, I felt like going online and researching to see if there's any other books like this. And I didn't actually find any. So this is like completely original and it's crazy how like people just get these ideas. Cause like I don't even like someone came up with the idea of Batman, and then now like everyone knows who he is, and
Yeah.
like people
Well,
treat
the
him
thing
kind
is, it's like, yes, someone came up with the idea for Batman, and everyone knows, but also over those,
of
decades, people have come up with so many ideas, and most of them they don't go anywhere. And no, maybe there's a book, maybe there's not a book, but people forget about it. It's just some of those books, those ideas stick. You know what I mean? Some of those ideas are
yeah,
just right and they last. And that's very exciting. And it's exciting to have the opportunity to work with those characters, those ideas, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, the Flash, characters who people have known for decades. Whole generations of families have known these
yeah,
same characters, and the characters change in some ways, but they also stay kind of the same in the core of
hmm
those characters. And it's really fun to be able to do a little something, put your own little uh, touch, your own little spin on
yeah.
those characters. So
hmm
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's amazing when someone comes up not just with a great idea, but with an idea that makes it through all those other ideas and becomes the one that people know, years and decades later that are people are still talking about and still want to read about. It's
Yeah.
really fun as a writer to work with that kind of playground.
Yeah, because then like once you're like not no longer on the face of the earth, like you can be confident that people will still be reading your books and you'll still be known worldwide famous or something.
Well, yeah, or at least that you
Your
have a,
characters.
yeah, like you're playing a part in um a character that's still going to be around, and maybe this book I did on Alfred, maybe next time someone else is writing about Alfred, they might think about, oh, something in that book or one of the other characters or something like that, and then that continues on. And yeah, it's fun. It's just like it's you feel like you're sort of collaborating with all these other people, and some of
Mhm.
them and some of them you don't, but you're all kind of trying to do the same thing, trying to tell this story about this character who you all really find something special about.
Mm-hmm. So how'd you come up with the title and the cover page illustration? One thing that I noticed is like the background of it, it's so precise and it's like little bat wings and it's very nice. And another thing that's pretty funny is that like the picture of Alfred and his friends in Gotham Servants School is like literally in like the like
Yes.
yeah
Yes,
of
Pain and the Butler, right? So
yeah.
I came up, I like puns. I've always liked puns and jokes and things like
Mhm.
that. And so I just like, I was thinking about Alfred. If I wanted to do a book about Alfred, like what are some things I would explore? And I thought, yeah, like a thing would be his early years, sort of early struggles. So that's how like Pain and the Butler came, and then I just thought of the pun, and that as soon as I came up with that little pun, that little joke, I knew that that was the title. And I think
Mhm.
actually that's how the book got approved because the people at DC Comics, most of their books are not about Alfred. They're about, the big characters. And I think they needed some convincing to approve a book, to let me write a book about a lesser known character, a character who
Yeah.
people aren't going to run and,
Well, after people read this book, he won't be a lesser known character
oh,
anymore.
thank you very much. But yeah, so I mean, I think that I was told that the title actually is what helped it get approved. Like people were
Mhm.
like on the fence about an Alfred book, but they really like the title. So they're like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah. I don't think anyone else would have that idea for a title.
Thank you.
Yes. So when did you first find interest in Batman's in like Batman? Because like I've only like known it from like my brother because he's always been interested in comics and but I want to know how you came to like
Yeah, I mean, Batman is one of those characters. I've known sort of my whole life, and from different ways, from like
Mm.
TV shows or movies or comic books, or even like, I remember when I was a kid, we'd have Halloween costumes to go out on
Yeah.
Halloween, and a lot of people would have the plastic mask of Batman and or Spider-Man or whatever and Superman. And I always thought those were cool. So it's one of those things. I mean, there must have been a first time where I saw a Batman and was like, "Oh, who's that?" or what. But I don't remember it. To me, as far as I can remember, I've just known about this character my whole life. This
Yeah.
sort of like mysterious nighttime superhero who's a little bit scary, a bat. And I
Yeah.
always thought, and I think a lot of people just have always found that really sort of fascinating. And so
Mm.
I feel like I've always known about Batman, and I feel like I've always been really sort of fascinated by this idea of sort of a darker, sort of more mysterious superhero.
Hmm. How'd you come up with the character Penny?
So Penny was, um, it started with the name, Penny, because Alfred's last name is Pennyworth. So I wanted someone who was like sort of a,
To
a
match?
compliment to um Alfred, like not a sidekick the way he's a sidekick to Batman, but like sort of an equal, like a partner, but different.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking of a penny, right? Because his name's Pennyworth, like, and I was thinking of like two sides of the same coin, that expression.
Mhm.
And so that's what I wanted a character who was sort of the other side of the penny.
Yeah, two
So
pence.
yeah, yeah. So in some ways very similar, like the sides of a coin. In some ways they're very similar to each other, but in some
Mhm.
ways they're completely different. And so that's what I wanted. I wanted a character who in some ways was very much like Alfred, but in some ways was also her own sort of individual person. And
Yeah,
that's how I came up with her. She's one of
yeah.
my favorite characters I've created.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think maybe you should do like the next book. I think you should do like something based on Penny or something.
That would be great. I mean, I would love to do that. I'd also love it if someone else wanted to write something about Penny, because that would be fun if like it's like with Batman and Alfred, how different people are writing about the same characters. It's really it would be really fun. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Who was your favorite character in the book other than Alfred?
Oh, it was definitely Penny. I mean, in
Yeah,
fact, I
same.
had to, yeah, like I had to remind myself sometimes when I'm writing the book that Alfred is the main character. That it's his name on the cover, and it's not a book about Penny, it's a book about Alfred, because I really did enjoy writing the scenes with Penny, and the scenes where Penny was sort of takes sort of more of a in charge sort of role.
Same for me. It was Penny because she just seems so like precise and neat with everything, and like she's like, yeah, like you said, she's like the total opposite of Alfred, but like she's also like the same.
Yeah, they really go well together.
Yeah.
They are each good at things, some of the same things, but some different things too. So, yeah.
Yeah. Do you think Alfred has grown or changed by the end of the story, and in what ways do you think he did?
Yes, I mean, I feel like there are two Alfreds in the book. There's the older Alfred and there's the younger
Yeah,
Alfred.
well, I'm talking about the younger Alfred because the
Yeah,
older Alfred is like he's
he's
reached
got it
his
figured out.
goal.
But I do feel like it's those younger years when he did figure out a lot of those things, and so I do feel like he has learned a lot by the end of the book. And he's just become a little bit more comfortable with who he is,
Mhm.
and where he is, and where he wants to go next. I mean, I feel
Yeah.
like those are the three things. He's more comfortable with who he is, and he knows where he wants to go. And at the
Mhm.
start, he doesn't really. He's uncertain. He's in a new place. He is a little
He bumps
lost.
into Penny and scuffs his
Yes.
shoe.
Or she bumps into him. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so that's what I think it is. He's lost at the start of the book, and he's not at the end.
Yeah. I think that like the in like the fight where against the disorderlies.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that the butlers and modern ladies maid should
Mhm.
they should like form some sort of team and be like like the butlers league or something.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I do like the teamwork in the book is one of the things I really enjoyed. Like how that came about, it took a while and I did like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, would you ever want to be a butler?
I don't think I have the personality to be a butler. I admire butlers, but the thing about butlers is, I think for me, and I think for a lot of writers, a lot of authors, there's this impulse to want to be liked, to want to make peace, to avoid conflict and tell a fun story and have people get along um, and Butler, I feel like, has to be willing to not be liked, has to be able to tell people no and say, this is wrong and you need to do it again. And I'm the kind of person who would order a sandwich, and if they bring the wrong sandwich, I'd eat it anyways because I don't want them to feel bad. So I feel like I don't have the kind of personality that you need to be a butler. And that's one of the reasons why I admire people who can do that so much.
Yeah. If I could have the chance, I would try to be a butler because
Oh,
honestly, like,
wow.
I mean, I
And
feel
so
like
you can do that. You can tell people, you can see, be like, no, this is wrong. You need to do this again.
yeah,
Okay, that's
because I
good.
mean, sort of like Penny explained the book, it feels great to be part of this awesome
Yes,
stability and like to be like the one who controls it all and
yes.
yeah,
Behind the
but not like
scenes.
the way of a supervillain.
Right. No, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I see that. I really do. And it's one of the things I really admire about the characters in this book. Yeah.
hmm If you could, speaking of characters, if you could add one more character, then like what sort of personality would they have?
I feel like not at the beginning of the book, but later on, or if there was another book, it would be fun to add someone who was a big joker, who was really a little chaotic, because Alfred, Penny, they're orderly people. They want things to work out, and it would be fun to have someone just making that a little more challenging, not in a mean way, but someone who could make things a little unpredictable. I think that would be a fun thing to add because it's like if you see someone is like juggling and they're juggling like three things, it's like if you give them a fourth, and now they have to go faster. And so I think that would be fun to have someone who was a little chaotic and just gave them a little bit more to juggle.
hmm Well, that's very well way to put it. And well, if I could put someone else in, I think maybe like we could find out that Penny has a long lost sister
Oh, wow.
and
Yeah.
that her parents are really alive and like they're somewhere and they're like some sort of like I don't know, some sort of like this
Well, that could be a
wealthy
great
family
story.
and
Yeah, it could be a great
maybe
story where Penny goes to find out, a little bit
mhm,
more about her own
yeah.
roots.
And
That
then
would
like
be really
maybe she
fun.
could like have to choose between like staying without Fred and like
Yeah,
or going to home to her family and
yeah,
something
that
like
could
that.
be really fun. Yeah,
Yeah. I have no idea where I came up with that.
it's a great idea. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
The best ideas just pop out of nowhere.
That's what happens. Yeah. Of
Yeah.
course, the tricky thing is the worst ideas pop out of nowhere too, and you have to know which is which, right?
Yeah. What was your favorite or what was the easiest chapter for you to write?
the my favorite and the easiest chapter was probably the second chapter, which is
Mhm.
the first chapter for young Alfred, where it starts with him getting off the boat from England,
Yeah.
and where he has a little encounter with Penny, just catches the
Mhm.
first glimpse of Penny. And that was because it was sort of where the story started for me in my mind. Like when I was thinking like young Alfred, like it was like, what would it be like for him to first arrive in Gotham City as a kid on his own, um, unsure, doesn't know anyone. I could see that really clearly in my mind. And um, that's where the story started. And I really, that first chapter was just me describing what I was seeing when when I got the idea for this book. So it was the easiest and sort of the most fun. And I just, the artist on this book is Sam Lotfi. And he just did such an amazing job of taking what was in my head and putting it on the page. And it really is, it's amazing to me to look down and see that artwork, that great artwork, and just think like that's exactly what I was picturing, and now it exists in the world,
Page,
and
yeah.
it's really fun for me. Yeah.
Hmm. So is Alfred from England?
Yes, Alfred is from England.
Okay, because like
Yes.
when I was reading it, I kept on asking because like when he says like candy floss and Penny's like
Yes.
here it's called cotton candy, and I was like I
Yes,
was
he's
like
from
what do
England, and Alfred in the comic books now, he's always been from England. And so you like in the movies and stuff, it's almost always an English actor who plays Alfred, with the English
Mhm.
accent and the whole thing. Um, and yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
he's from England, but then he comes to in this book he comes to Gotham City young, so then he is from Gotham too. Yeah.
What is your favorite superhero?
My favorite superhero is, I have, it's really hard to choose. I have three favorites, I'll say, and I'll make just the case for each.
Yeah.
Superman to me is the classic, the most iconic superhero, and the most, the most pure, sort of in a way. When I think of superhero, I think of Superman.
Mhm.
But I
Literally
like,
just like super in the name.
yeah, super is right in the name, right? Exactly. But I also like Green Lantern, and Green Lantern. Of course, there've been many people with the Green Lantern power ring over the years, but
Yeah, that's one
I
of my
like,
favorites too.
yeah, I like the power because it's a lot like what a writer does. Like Green Lantern, anything that he can think of, his energy ring can create, and that's sort of like what a writer does, right? We sit there and we think of things, and then
And then you just write down on the page and
we write it
boop,
down.
it's
Yeah,
off into the world and
it
yeah.
exists, yeah. And so I've always felt like a really strong connection uh, to Green Lantern as a writer. But to me, Superman is sort of the classic. If you say like word association, you say superhero, I say Superman. So yeah.
Yeah. So what's your third favorite?
Oh, Wolverine, who's a Marvel superhero, a member of the X-Men, who I just thought was like the first one I was super, super into when I was a kid. He's cool. He's a little like tough, bad guy, kind of like,
Hmm.
"Ugh." But he's secretly inside, he's good, but um, but he's got kind of a rough exterior, and he's like tough and cool and sort of all these things that every little kid thinks that they are, but may not actually be. So he was my first favorite, and
Yeah.
I always have a soft spot for Wolverine. My favorite, definitely my favorite X-Men. Yeah.
Hmm. My favorites are like like you said, Green Lantern.
Mhm.
There's also Black Widow,
Oh yeah.
and another one of my favorites is Wonder Woman. Well, what was the most challenging part of writing the book?
The most challenging part of writing the book was, I have the two different timelines. I've got the adult Alfred and I've got the young Alfred, and just making sure that that all fit together neatly. Like I felt like I had a pretty good idea of what I wanted each story to be, but cutting back and forth and having them sort of work like a puzzle, that was the hardest part for me. It's really almost two books in one book, and fitting the pieces together. That was the biggest challenge.
Hmm. Well, maybe you could have like wrote like young Alfred's part of the story and then older Alfred's part of the story and just like ask for some help to like put it together or something.
Yeah, I
Because
mean, actually got a lot of help from the other people involved in a book like this is the artist obviously,
oh
but
yes, well that's
the
like
editor also. So the editor, is a little bit like my teacher, sort of like she's like, yes, no, this is a good idea, this isn't working,
yeah.
kind of grades me as I go along, um, and we definitely worked together to get everything just right, and yeah, I
Hmm.
mean,
We
like,
connected very well, and I loved it. It's
oh, thank you.
mm-hmm.
That was probably them. um, but yeah, it was definitely a team effort, and I'm really proud of the way that it came out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What was your favorite part of writing the book?
Favorite part was it was the favorite part, my favorite part was the ending because I felt like I earned it. It's like the ending is, older Alfred, but he's wrapping it up for both stories. And it's sort of the theme of both halves of the book, and they come together right at the end. And I feel like it was a really satisfying moment because I felt like I earned it. It sort of wrapped up both halves of the book in on one page. And the art's so great, and I was really just very happy with how
Mm-hmm.
that came out.
Yeah, if it was two endings, you'd probably need to do like ending number one, ending number two,
Right,
or
right.
something.
So I had to do one ending for both parts, and
Mm,
it was a challenge, but I'm really very happy with how it came out.
yes. So can you tell us about the process of writing this book?
So the process of writing a book, I write two kinds of books. I write novels and I write graphic novels, and it's a very different process because when I'm writing a novel, I have to describe everything,
Mm-hmm.
anything I want the reader to know. I have to, put it down in words. I'm writing a novel. I just like that, and I don't even look up for like hours at a time. I just looking at my hands or looking at the screen. And when I'm writing a graphic novel, it's the opposite. Like I'll be just staring at the wall. I'll be like thinking, like trying to picture it, like what does it look like to me? And then every once in a while, just a little sentence, oh, Alfred walks across the lawn, and then it's like, oh, where does he go? It's like, oh, he goes to the side door, like so when I'm writing a novel, I'm spending the whole time typing. And when I'm writing a graphic novel, I'm spending very little time typing, and I'm spending a lot of time just looking and thinking and trying to picture it.
So these are like my last few questions.
Okay.
Which character in the book, other than Batman, of course, would
Uh-huh.
you like to meet real life in person and interview, like I'm interviewing you right now?
Yes, I would like to meet Alfred, but I tell you, I would be so nervous. I'd have to get my best suit out, from the closet. I'd have to take it to the
Yes.
cleaner. What if I had a button missing or had a little stain up here that I didn't see until I'd be so nervous. And then so I would want to meet him, but I would be very, very nervous. Like there are definitely people who you could meet and then you wouldn't be very nervous at all. Like I feel like the Flash, like he's kind of a fun guy, right? So you could meet him and it would probably just be fun and maybe tell jokes or whatever. But Alfred, it wouldn't be maybe as fun, but it would be an amazing experience.
Mhm,
Um,
yeah.
so I feel like I would love to meet Alfred, and it would be it would be cool, but I'd be a little scared.
Yeah, I would meet Penny, but I feel like it would be a
Oh,
little
mhm.
weird to meet Penny without Alfred, so I think I would meet like both of them.
That would be fair. Yeah, yeah. And that
Yeah.
would be fun because then I feel like it would be easier to meet Alfred with
Yeah,
Penny
because like
there.
Penny with Penny there, I think he would take a little a
Yeah, it
little
would be a little friendlier. She wouldn't let him take himself too seriously. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, so yeah, that's a good idea. So, okay, maybe I'll change that. I would like to meet
Yeah.
Alfred and Penny too. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe like Penny could come like an hour earlier because like her last name is Spiffer, so she
Yeah,
makes it make a little spiffy.
she could help me get ready. Yeah,
Yeah,
that would be very
exactly.
good. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all for now.
Oh,
Thank you so much for
fantastic.
your time.
Of course.
Today's
I'm
been,
always,
yeah.
I do. I love the book, and I'm always very happy to talk about it. It's one of those things
Yeah.
you spend so long, putting it together, and then it's out in the world, and it's just like, well, now it used to be mine, and now it's everyone else's. But
Yeah.
it is a book I had a lot of fun with, and I am very proud of it. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
thank you very much. It's very nice to
Yeah.
meet.
I'm
It's
gonna
nice to talk to you.
stop
Yeah.
recording.